Hello everyone, I am Leo, and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching now? Get comfortable. Snowfall outside my window had been relentless for 3 days. Living in this remote mountain cabin had seemed like the perfect writing retreat. Until the storm hit, the electricity flickered occasionally, threatening to plunge me into total darkness. That's when I first heard it, a faint whisper carried on the wind. I tried to dismiss it as exhaustion playing tricks on my mind. After all, I hadn't slept properly since discovering those strange tracks circling my cabin. They weren't animal prints, at least not any I recognized. Too large, too deliberate. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm a novelist with a deadline and a severe case of writer's block. My agent suggested this place, a secluded cabin in the Black Ridge Mountains, as the perfect spot to finish my manuscript. No distractions, she'd said. Just you and your imagination. If only she knew what my imagination was capable of. I arrived at the cabin 10 days ago. The journey up the winding mountain road had been pleasant enough, though I noted how quickly civilization fell away. One moment I was in the small town of Pinehaven with its quaint storefronts and friendly locals, and the next I was surrounded by nothing but towering pines and silence, the kind of silence that feels alive. The cabin itself exceeded my expectations. 2 stories of sturdy timber construction with a wraparound porch and picture windows offering spectacular views of the valley below. The interior was rustic but comfortable. A massive stone fireplace dominated the living room, and the kitchen was equipped with modern appliances. 2 bedrooms upstairs, though I only needed one. The owner, a Mr. Caldwell, had left detailed instructions for everything from the generator to the satellite phone in case of emergencies. Reception's spotty up here, he'd warned over email. Storms can cut you off completely. The satellite phone is your lifeline if things get dicey. I'd laughed at his concern. I wanted to be cut off. Isolation breeds creativity, or so I believed. The first few days passed uneventfully. I established a routine. Wake at dawn, coffee on the porch, weather permitting, writing until noon, a hike in the afternoon, more writing until dinner, then reading by the fireplace until sleep called. My manuscript grew steadily, if not spectacularly. The words came, but they felt hollow, lacking the psychological depth my previous works were known for. Then the storm rolled in. It began innocently enough, light flurries dancing in the air. A gentle dusting that transformed the landscape into something from a Christmas card. I actually welcomed it, brewing an extra strong cup of coffee and settling into the window seat to watch nature's show. By nightfall, the flurries had become a blizzard. Wind howled through the trees, bending them at unnatural angles. Snow accumulated at an alarming rate, and the temperature plummeted. I built a roaring fire and checked my supplies, plenty of food, water, firewood. I was prepared for a few days of bad weather. What I wasn't prepared for was the voice. I first heard it as I was drifting off to sleep that night. A soft, almost musical sound riding the wind. Indistinct yet somehow familiar. I bolted upright, heart pounding. The bedroom window was sealed tight, yet the voice seemed to emanate from just outside the glass. "Hello?" I called, feeling foolish immediately. Of course no one was out there, not in this weather. The voice stopped. I convinced myself it was just the wind finding strange acoustic pathways around the cabin's structure. Old buildings often sang in storms. That's all it was. I repeated this to myself as I lay back down, pulling the covers tight around my shoulders. That night, I dreamed of snow-covered graveyards and empty cradles. Morning brought a brief respite from the storm. Though heavy clouds still hung low over the mountains, the snowfall had temporarily ceased. I took the opportunity to step outside, assess the situation, and clear the porch of snow. The air was bitingly cold, crystallizing my breath the moment it left my lungs. That's when I noticed the tracks. They circled the entire cabin in a perfect, unbroken ring. A single line of impressions in the snow, approximately 20 inches apart. Too large for a wolf or mountain lion, but not shaped like bear tracks either. They had a strange, almost human quality, except for the unusual spacing and depth. Whatever made them was heavy, and moved with purpose. Most disturbing of all, there were no tracks leading to or from the circle, as if whatever made them had descended from above. I followed the circle slowly, camera phone in hand, documenting the bizarre discovery. When I completed the circuit, returning to the porch steps, a chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the temperature. The tracks now extended away from the circle, heading into the forest. Tracks that had definitively not been there moments before when I started my inspection. I nearly fell in my haste to get back inside. Door locked, windows secured. I downloaded the photos to my laptop with trembling fingers. The images were clear, a perfect circle of tracks, exactly as I'd seen them. But in the final photo, where I'd captured the tracks leading away into the forest, there was something else. A dark figure standing between two distant pines, blurred and indistinct. A photographic anomaly, surely, a trick of light and shadow. Yet I couldn't look away from those two gleaming points in the smudge that might have been eyes, reflecting the camera's flash. The storm returned with renewed fury that afternoon. I tried to write, to lose myself in my fictional world, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I found myself researching the history of the Black Ridge Mountains on my laptop, grateful for the satellite internet Mr. Caldwell had installed. The mountains had a rich and sometimes tragic past. Native American legends spoke of a cold spirit that hunted during the worst winter storm. Early settlers had reported entire families vanishing from remote homesteads, with no signs of struggle, just empty houses and meals half-eaten on tables. More recently, in 1952, a group of college students on a winter retreat had disappeared from a cabin, less than 5 miles from where I now sat. The only clue was a journal belonging to one of the students, which contained increasingly frantic entries about voices in the snow, and something watching them from the trees. The final entry simply read, "It knows us, God help us, I think it's been waiting." A familiar dread pooled in my stomach as I read account after account of disappearances in these mountains, always during snowstorms, always leaving minimal evidence. Local folklore had given the phenomenon a name, the borrower. It was said to take one person every winter. Why? No one. Some said it was collecting, others believed it was searching for something specific. Night fell, and with it came the whispers again, louder now, almost forming words I could almost understand, something about returning in time. My cell phone showed no service, and when I tried the satellite phone, all I got was a high-pitched tone that made my teeth ache. I was truly alone. Last night, I woke to find my front door wide open, snow drifting across the threshold. I know I locked it, I always do. The strangest part, there were no footprints leading in, only out. Human footprints, my size, leading from the doorway into the howling darkness, but I was here, in my bed. I hadn't sleepwalked, had I? I slammed the door shut, dragged the heavy oak dining table across it, and retreated upstairs. Sleep was impossible after that. I sat in bed, back against the headboard, laptop open to a blank document. The cursor blinked accusingly. Right, it seemed to say, isn't that why you came here? Instead, I found myself typing questions. What makes those tracks? Who is whispering? Why does it feel like I've been here before? As dawn broke, bringing little light through the thick storm clouds, I made a terrifying discovery. While searching for more candles in a drawer I hadn't opened before, I found an old photo. It showed the same cabin, dated 1952, the same year as the disappeared college students. Among the group of smiling vacationers, stood someone who looked exactly like me, not similar, identical, same face, same small scar above my right eyebrow, from a childhood accident. On the back, a single line, the one that got away. My hands shook so badly I dropped the photo. This was impossible, some elaborate prank, but who would go to such lengths and why? The power failed completely around me. I lit candles and built up the fire, trying to ward off the creeping cold and the thoughts that threatened to unravel my sanity. The whispers were constant now, no longer confined to the night. They seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, from the very air I breathed. I've barricaded myself in the bathroom with this journal and a flashlight. The scratching at my door started 20 minutes ago, gentle at first, now increasingly insistent. What haunts me most isn't the fear of what might come through that door. It's the growing certainty that whatever is out there knows me, knows my name, knows I've been here before. The scratching has stopped now. Instead, there's a soft tapping at the bathroom window. Impossible since I'm on the second floor. I can't help but listen to what the whispers are saying more clearly now. Remember, Daniel, it's time to remember. The tapping at the window grew more insistent. A rhythmic pattern that seemed almost coded. 3 quick taps. Pause. 2 slow taps. Pause. 3 quick taps again. My flashlight beam trembled as I directed it toward the frosted glass. Through the crystalline patterns forming on the pane, I could make out a dark shape. Not a hand, not human, more like branches, twisted, gnarled fingers of wood, tapping with deliberate precision. I backed away until I hit the opposite wall, the cold tile seeping through my sweater. The logical part of my brain, the part still clinging to rational explanation, suggested a tree branch, swaying in the violent storm winds. But trees don't tap in patterns, and they don't whisper your name. Daniel, remember. The voice was clearer now, less like wind through cracks, and more like someone speaking directly into my ear. Female, I thought. Young but somehow ancient simultaneously, familiar in a way that made my chest ache with forgotten emotion. The bathroom light flickered once, a surprise since the power had failed hours ago, and in that momentary flash, I saw my reflection in the mirror. Except it wasn't quite me. The face looking back had my features but was gaunt, eyes sunken, skin pale as the snow outside. And behind this reflection stood a figure, indistinct except for those eyes, black as pitch but filled with pinprick stars, like twin windows into the cosmos. I screamed, swinging the flashlight at the mirror. The glass shattered, fragments cascading into the sink like jagged snowflakes. In the sudden silence that followed, I heard something new, a sound from downstairs, footsteps, slow and deliberate, crossing the living room floor. The old wooden stairs groaned. Someone or something was ascending. Panic propelled me into action. The bathroom had no viable escape route except the window, and even if I could break the glass, it was a 15-foot drop to frozen ground. The only weapon at hand was a straight razor I'd found in the medicine cabinet earlier, an antique with a pearl handle, its edge still surprisingly sharp. The footsteps reached the landing. A soft scraping sound suggested fingers trailing along the hallway wall, approaching the bathroom door. I pressed myself against the wall adjacent to the door, razor gripped so tightly my knuckles whitened. If something came through, I'd have one chance, one slash at whatever appeared. The doorknob turned slowly, the mechanism clicking as the catch released. As the door began to swing inward, I raised the razor. Daniel, came the whisper, not from the doorway but impossibly from behind me. You won't hurt me again, will you? I whirled, slashing blindly at the air. Nothing. When I turned back, the bathroom door was fully open, revealing the dark hallway beyond, empty. Something compelled me forward. Fear should have kept me frozen in place, yet I found myself stepping into the hall, flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. The house felt different somehow, the dimensions slightly wrong, the shadows deeper than they should be. I made my way to the master bedroom, drawn there by some instinct I couldn't name. The door stood ajar, a sliver of faint blue light visible through the gap. Not flashlight beam or electric bulb, more like moonlight, though the storm outside blocked any celestial illumination. Pushing the door fully open revealed a transformed space. The bedroom I'd slept in for the past week was gone. In its place was something older, with different furnishings, a large 4-poster bed, with heavy curtains, a vanity table with an oval mirror, wallpaper in faded floral patterns I'd never seen before, and sitting at the vanity, brushing long dark hair, was a woman. She didn't acknowledge my presence immediately, just continued the rhythmic strokes through raven locks that reached her waist. I stood transfixed, razor dangling forgotten at my side. There was something mesmerizing about her movements, something that stirred fragments of memory like sediment in still water. When she finally turned, I gasped. Her face was beautiful but wrong, features shifting subtly moment to moment, never quite settling into a fixed arrangement. Only her eyes remained constant, those star-filled eyes I'd glimpsed in the bathroom mirror. "You've forgotten again," she said, her voice the same whisper that had haunted me for days. "You always forget, Daniel. That's why I have to remind you. Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice cracking. Her smile was sad. "The better question is, who are you? Not who you think, not who they made you believe." She gestured to the bed, where I now noticed a book lying open. "See for yourself." Some deeply buried instinct screamed at me to flee, to barricade myself away from this impossible woman and her impossible room. Instead, I found myself moving toward the bed, drawn by a compulsion stronger than fear. The book was a journal, old, leather-bound, the pages yellowed with age. The handwriting inside was mine, not similar, identical to the distinctive way I formed my letters, but the date on the first visible page read January 17. Every night now, I find myself wandering these mountains in the snow, searching for something I cannot name. Dr. Ellison says, it's just trauma from the war, but the cold reminds me of the Chosin Reservoir. He's increased my medication, but it doesn't help. Nothing helps except her voice. When she speaks to me in the darkness, I almost remember. The others are concerned. They try to hide it, but I see the looks they exchange when they think I'm not watching. Rebecca suggested we cut the trip short, return to campus early. I convinced them to stay. I need to be here. She's waiting for me. I found marks around the cabin this morning. Perfect circle. The others didn't see them. When I looked again later, they were gone, covered by fresh snow. Am I finally losing my grip on reality? I flipped through more pages, hands trembling. Entry after entry documented a descent into what appeared to be madness, or a terrible awakening. The final entry caught my eye. January 24, 1952. I remember everything now. What I am, what I left behind, what was taken from me. The others won't understand, how could they? To them I'm just Daniel Mercer, the quiet English major with a veteran's 1,000-yard stare. They don't know I've lived a dozen lives before this one, always returning to these mountains, always forgetting, always remembered. She's come for me again, the borrower they call her in the village, but she doesn't take. She returns us to where we belong. The storm is here. Tonight I go home. The others, I'm sorry for what will happen to them. Witnesses cannot remain. That's the rule. The only mercy is they won't remember the cold for long. The journal slipped from my numb fingers. The woman to borrower stood beside me now, though I hadn't heard her move. You wrote that, she said softly. In another life, one of many. This is insane, I whispered. I was born in 1989. I grew up in Connecticut. I have parents, a sister, implanted memories, she interrupted. They do that each time they catch you, send you back into the world with a new identity, new memories, but they can never completely erase what you are. That's why you're drawn to the cold, why you hear the whisper, why you came back to these mountains. What am I then? I demanded, anger suddenly cutting through the fear. What is this? Some elaborate psychological torture? Her expression softened. You're like me, Daniel, one of the old ones. We existed before they did, before they built their cities and wrote their histories. We were part of the earth and sky and seasons. They called us gods once, then monsters, then myths. She took my hand, her touch sending electric cold up my arm. We met at the beginning of their fell in love, chose to be together despite the laws of our kind. For that they punished us, separated us across dimensions, across time itself. But every generation, the barrier's thin. Every generation, I find a way to call you home. In the others, I asked, remembering the journal entry. The college students in 1952, a shadow crossed her face. Casualties, those who witness our reunion cannot live to tell of it. That is the price, always has been. The implications hit me with physical force. My agent, the cabin owner, the people in town who saw me arrive, all necessary sacrifices, she confirmed without remorse. Their souls sustain the passage you must take. Horror washed through me. I won't help you murder innocent people. You say that every time, she said with infinite sadness. And every time, you remember what you truly are. What they took from you. Then your humanity falls away like the shell it is. As if triggered by her words, pain lanced through my skull. White-hot agony that brought me to my knees. Images flashed before my eyes. Mountains older than human memory. Skies filled with impossible celestial bodies. Beings of light and darkness, dancing through primordial forests. And always her with midnight hair and star-filled eyes, reaching for me across eons. I screamed as memories older than civilization crashed through the carefully constructed walls in my mind. Lifetimes upon lifetimes, each one ending in these mountains. With her before being captured and reset by those who kept the cosmic order. Remember, she whispered, kneeling beside me, cradling my convulsing body. Remember who you are. Azrael. The name struck me like lightning. My true name, not Daniel Mercer, not any of the identities they had forced upon me across centuries. The storm is our doorway, she continued, stroking my hair as I gasped through the pain of remembrance. When the snow is heaviest, when the wind howls loudest, the barriers between worlds grow thin. We can go home together, but only if you fully remember, only if you accept the sacrifice. Part of me, the human part, the Daniel Mercer who had lived 36 years with manufactured memories, recoiled at what she suggested, but that part was shrinking, burning away like fog under a merciless sun. As my true self emerged, I saw now why I'd been drawn to writing psychological horror. The human consciousness they'd grafted onto my ancient being had sensed the wrongness, had tried to process the fragmented memories of what I truly was through fiction. My writer's block hadn't been lack of inspiration. It had been my true self fighting to emerge, refusing to be channeled into mere stories any longer. The woman Lilith, I remembered her name now, helped me to my feet. The storm reaches its peak at midnight. We have hours. She led me to the window, where the blizzard raged with supernatural intensity. Rest, recover your strength, accept what you are. She left me there, gliding from the room like a shadow, leaving me alone with the maelstrom of ancient memories and human morality battling within me. I staggered to the bed, collapsing onto covers that smelled of dust and forgotten time. The journal lay where I'd dropped it. With trembling hands, I opened it again, turning to blank pages at the back. I needed to write, not as Daniel Mercer, novel, but as whatever I truly was, trying to make sense of the choice before me. The words came in a flood, my handwriting transforming subtly with each paragraph, becoming more elaborate, more ancient in its styling. I remember the beginning now, the void before light, the cold between stars. Our kind roamed the spaces that existed before matter congealed into worlds. We were thought and energy and possibility. When Earth formed, some of us were drawn to its wild beauty. We took physical form to walk its surface, became its first gods and demons. Lilith and I found each other there, among the primeval forests and newborn oceans. We loved against all cosmic law. Entities of our kind were meant to remain solitary, dispassionate observers. Our union threatened the order they had established. They could not destroy us. Our kind cannot truly die, but they could bind us, separate us, force us into mortal vessels with no memory of our true nature. And so began our eternal cycle. I live human lives, unaware of what I am, until the cosmic alignments allow Lilith to find me, to remind me. We have brief moments together before they detect the disturbance in reality and send their agents to recapture me, to reset the cycle. Each time Lilith grows stronger, more adept at finding loopholes in our punishment. Each time I remember more quickly, but the price never changes. Human witnesses cannot survive contact with our true forms. Their consciousness cannot comprehend what we are without shattering, and when they die in our presence, their life energy fuels our brief escape from this dimension. I have killed hundreds over the centuries. Some lives I barely remembered my humanity before embracing my cosmic nature. Other times, like now, the human vessel fights, clings to its fabricated morality and memories. Daniel Mercer has people he believes he loves. Parents constructed from manipulation of matter and memory. Friends who exist only as anchors to keep me bound to this false life. If I accept what I am, they cease to have meaning. If I reject my true nature, I condemn Lilith to another generation of solitude, another cycle of search. What is the life of a few humans against the cosmic suffering of an immortal being? What is morality to entities that existed before the concept was invented? Yet I can feel Daniel Mercer screaming inside me, fighting to protect not just his loved ones, but all humans from what we would unleash. His horror is real. Even if his existence is manufactured, the storm peaks at midnight. I have until then to decide which nature will prevail. The pen fell from my cramping hand. Outside, the blizzard had intensified beyond anything meteorologically possible. Snow fell in patterns that defied gravity, swirling in complex geometric formations. The wind no longer howled. It sang in harmonies impossible for human ears to fully comprehend. Lilith returned as daylight faded. Though the clouds were so thick it made little difference to the gloom inside the cabin. She changed her appearance subtly, her dress now flowing like liquid shadow, her hair moving as if underwater, less human, closer to her true form. "They've noticed," she said without preamble. "Their agents approach. We must complete the ritual before midnight, or wait another generation." "The people in town," I said, my voice rough from screaming. "My agent, the cabin owner. Their fates are sealed the moment you fully remember," she replied. "Their energy already connects to the ritual. Only through death can it be released." The part of me that was still Daniel Mercer felt crushing horror at her word. The ancient entity I truly was, felt only impatience at this human weakness. "Show me," I said finally. "Show me your true form so I can remember mine." Her smile was terrible and beautiful. "As you wish, my love." The transformation began subtly, her outline blurring, features becoming fluid. Then with a sound like reality tearing, her human disguise fell away completely. What stood before me defied description in human language, a being of shadow and starlight, with limbs that extended into dimensions I could suddenly perceive. Her form shifted constantly, sometimes vast as galaxies, sometimes small as atoms. Where her face had been was a swirling vortex of cosmic energy, with those starfield eyes the only constant, and she was beautiful, so beautiful it hurt to behold her, like staring into the heart of creation. "Remember," her voice resonated directly in my mind. "Remember your true face, Azrael." The last of Daniel Mercer's consciousness screamed as my own transformation began, bones liquefying, skin becoming nearly the thinnest membrane between dimensions. My perception expanded exponentially. Suddenly I could see through walls, through mountains, through time itself. I saw the agents approaching, entities like us but bound to different laws, servants of the cosmic order. They moved through the blizzard in human forms, 3 of them, their disguises nearly perfect except for the emptiness where souls should be. I saw the people of Pinehaven going about their evening routines, unaware that their lives were cosmically entangled with forces beyond comprehension, that their souls would soon fuel a rift between dimensions. I saw my agent in her New York apartment, worried about my lack of communication, considering sending someone to check on me. I saw Mr. Caldwell, the cabin owner, feeling a nameless dread as he stared out his window at the distant mountains where his property stood. I saw my parents, or rather, the constructs I had believed were my parents, sitting down to dinner, my father telling a joke, my mother laughing. The sight sent agony through whatever I was becoming. The love I felt for them was real, even if they're not real. Lilith's voice sliced through my hesitation. "Mere anchors created to bind you to this realm. When we leave, they'll dissipate like morning mist. But would they, or would they die in pain and confusion, their souls consumed by cosmic forces they could never understand?" The uncertainty froze me halfway through my transformation, neither fully human nor fully restored to my ancient form. Lilith sensed my hesitation. Her form contracted, becoming more humanoid though still clearly not of this world. "We have little time, my love." The agents draw closer. "Feel that." I did feel them. Cold voids in the fabric of reality, approaching with implacable purpose. If they reached us before the ritual was complete, before the storm reached its apex, I would be captured again, reset, another lifetime of false memories and emptiness. "What happens to the humans if I refuse?" I asked, my voice reverberating strangely, as my vocal cords fluctuated between states of being. Lilith's starfield eyes dimmed slightly. "They live their brief, inconsequential lives, die their natural deaths. Their souls return to the cosmic cycle. And if we complete the ritual, if we consume them, their energy is transformed, their consciousness ends. Murder, in other words, mass murder to fuel our escape." The Daniel Mercer in me recoiled in horror. The ancient entity I was becoming viewed it with detached calculation. Necessary. There must be another way. I said, fighting to maintain enough humanity to care, a way that doesn't require sacrifice. Lilith's form pulsed with what might have been frustration. We've tried across eons. The laws of dimensional travel cannot be broken, only energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. Their life force is the only suitable energy source. Then I choose to remain, I declared, forcing my body back toward human form with tremendous effort. I choose Daniel Mercer's. Her scream of anguish shattered every window in the cabin, sent cracks spiderwebbing across the walls. You cannot. You are not human. You merely wear humanity like a ill-fitting garment. Would you condemn us both to another cycle of separation for the sake of these ephemeral beings? The rage in her voice triggered something within me, a memory of my own anger, my own true nature. For a moment I glimpsed what I had once been, a cosmic force of endings and transitions, the entity humans had later mythologized as the Angel of Death. Azrael, my true name, my true purpose. But I had changed over the centuries of living as human, grown, evolved. I was no longer purely what I had been at the dawn of creation, just as Lilith was no longer purely what she had been. Perhaps that's the point, I said, the revelation crystallizing even as perhaps the punishment was never meant to be eternal. Perhaps it was meant to teach us what we lacked: compassion, connection, the value of mortal existence. Lilith's form fluctuated wildly, her anger manifesting as ripples in the very fabric of reality around us. You speak like them now. You think like them. They've corrupted you, or completed me, I countered. I remember everything now, Lilith. Not just what I was, but what I've become through each human life. I remember the joy and pain, the love and loss. I am Azrael, yes, but I am also Daniel Mercer, and every identity they gave me between. Outside, the storm reached impossible intensity. Wind shrieked at frequencies that made the air itself vibrate. Snow fell upward as often as downward, defying all natural law. The dimensional barriers thinned to transparent, and through this chaos I sensed the agents closer, now moving with purpose toward the cabin. They had detected our partial transformation, our disruption of reality. They come, Lilith hissed, her form contracting further, preparing for conflict. Make your choice, beloved. Remember fully and escape with me, or remain in your prison of flesh and false memory. I looked at her, truly looked, seeing past the cosmic horror of her partially manifested true form to the essence beneath. What I saw broke my heart. Loneliness, endless, aching loneliness that had driven her to find me generation after generation, to remind me of what we had been to each other. She loved me, as much as entities like us could love, and I loved her. The part of me that was Azrael recognized its other half in her swirling star-studded form. But I also loved what I had become, the humanity that had gradually, over countless lifetimes, seeped into my cosmic being and transformed it. There is a third option, I said quietly. Lilith's form stilled, her attention focusing with laser intensity. Speak it. Stay with me in this realm. Take human form not as disguise but as choice. Live a mortal life alongside me. Experience what I have experienced, the beauty and fragility of human existence. Her rejection was immediate, manifesting as a shockwave that knocked me backward. Become prey to disease and decay. Diminish myself to fit within crude matter. Never. Then this is goodbye, I said, feeling the weight of cosmic tragedy in the words. I choose humanity, Lilith, not as prison but as gift. The storm outside reached its crescendo. The moment the dimensional barriers were thinnest, Lilith's form expanded, her rage and desperation evident in every fluctuation. You doom us both. Without the sacrifice, without your full power, I cannot maintain the portal alone. The agents will take you, reset you, and it begins again. Then let it, I said with genuine acceptance. Perhaps next time you'll understand what I've learned. Perhaps next time you'll choose to Her scream transcended sound, became pure energy that cracked foundation stones, and sent furniture flying across the room. For a moment her true form fully manifested, a being of such cosmic terror and beauty that reality itself seemed to bend around her. In that moment I remembered everything we had been to each other at the dawn of time, the love that had broken cosmic law, the punishment that had separated us, and I mourned what could not be. The agents burst through what remained of the front door, 3 figures that appeared human but moved with fluid precision no mortal body could achieve. They carried no weapons. They needed none. Their power radiated from them in cold waves. Lilith faced them, her form still mostly manifested a swirling vortex of darkness and stars. You will not take him again, the lead agent spoke, its voice toneless. The cycle continues. Lilith, as it must, return to your domain or face binding. I will tear this reality apart. She howled, expanding further, cosmic energy crackling around her. The agents moved in perfect synchronization, forming a triangle around her. Begin chanting in a language older than Earth itself. I knew I should run.
The Daniel Mercer in me screamed to flee, to hide, to escape the incomprehensible forces colliding in the cabin's ruined living room, but I stood my ground, heart breaking as I watched Lilith battle against the inevitable. She fought magnificently, reality rippling and tearing under her assault. One of the agents stumbled, its human disguise momentarily faltering to reveal the void-like entity beneath, but the other two maintained their chant, the binding spell growing stronger with each syllable. Lilith's form began to contract, forced back toward the dimensional rift she had created. Azrael, she cried out, reaching for me with limbs that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Remember me, find me again. I stepped forward, defying the agent's unspoken command to remain still. I will always remember, I promised, and I will always choose compassion. Wait for me to find my way back to you on better terms. The lead agent turned its attention to me, its eyes empty of everything except purpose.
The lead agent raised its hand toward me, fingers splayed in an unnatural configuration. Subject Azrael, it intoned, voice devoid of inflection. You have violated containment protocols. Memory purge and identity reassignment will commence. Cold fear, both human and cosmic, coursed through me. I knew what came next. The erasure. The rebirth as someone new, with no memory of Lilith, of my true nature, of the countless lives I'd lived before. No. Lilith's form surged against the binding spell, momentarily breaking its constraints. Not again. I won't lose you again. The cabin trembled under the force of colliding cosmic energies. Cracks spread across the ceiling, snowflakes swirling through newly formed gaps. The temperature plummeted further, my breath crystallizing instantly before my face. The two agents maintaining the binding spell began to falter, their human forms flickering as Lilith's desperate assault taxed their manifestations. But the lead agent remained unaffected, its attention fixed solely on me. Your resistance is noted, it said. Adjustments to your next iteration will be made. I understood the threat. They would make my next human identity even more disconnected from my true self, bury me deeper within manufactured memories and emotions. A terrible clarity came over me that I couldn't defeat these agents. They were enforcers of cosmic law, empowered by forces that maintained the very structure of reality, but I could deny them their perfect victory. I launched myself toward Lilith, pushing past the lead agent's outstretched hand. Its fingers brushed my shoulder, sending numbing cold through my arm, but momentum carried me forward. The binding spell had created a visible boundary around Lilith, a shimmering wall of energy that separated her from our reality, slowly pushing her back toward the dimensional rift she had opened. Lilith, I crashed against the barrier, feeling it burn against my still mostly human form. Listen to me. Remember this moment. In the next cycle, find me sooner, before I'm fully human. Her star-filled eyes fixed on me, cosmic rage, giving way to desperate hope. How? They'll change everything. Your appearance, your memories, your location. Not everything, I gasped, the barrier searing my flesh where I pressed against it. Not what I've become at my core. Look for a writer of horror. Look for stories about cosmic entities trapped in human form. That will be my unconscious mind reaching for the truth. The lead agent grabbed me from behind, its touch sending paralyzing cold through my body. Enough, it commanded. The cycle continues as ordained. Lilith's form contracted further, the binding spell forcing her closer to the rift. But her voice still reached me, bypassing normal sound to resonate directly in my mind. I will find you, beloved, whatever form they give you, whatever memories they implant. I will find the echo of Azrael within, and next time, we will be prepared. The other two agents had recovered, moving to flank me. The three began a new chant, this one directed at me. I felt my connection to my cosmic nature starting to fray, memories of my true self becoming slippery and indistinct. As darkness encroached on my consciousness, I had one final moment of clarity, a revelation about the endless cycle we were trapped in. Lilith, I called out, my voice already weakening as my true self began to be suppressed. The sacrifice, it's wrong. Not just morally. It's why we keep failing. We're entities of balance. Taking lives disrupts the very cosmic order we need to manipulate. The lead agent's grip tightened painfully. Silence. But Lilith had heard. As she vanished into the dimensional rift, forced back to whatever prison realm held her between our reunions, her final words burned into my mind. Next time, we find another way. Next time, we break the cycle not through death, but through. The rift closed with a thunderclap of imploding air, cutting off her final word. The agent's chant reached its crescendo, and my consciousness began to fragment, memories scattering like leaves in a gale. Daniel Mercer, the identity, the memories, the human life, was the last to go, fighting to maintain coherence, even as cosmic forces rewrote my very essence. My final thought, before oblivion claimed me, was simple: I will remember. Somehow, I will remember. Part 4. Rebirth. I awoke to the steady beep of hospital monitors and the antiseptic smell of a medical facility. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, their harsh illumination making me wince. "He's awake," someone said, a woman's voice, professional but kind. A nurse came into view, checking the IV in my arm. "Mr. Taylor? Can you hear me, Taylor?" The name felt wrong somehow, ill-fitting, but when I searched my memories, that's who I was. Michael Taylor, 34, software engineer from Boston. What happened? My voice was raspy from disuse. "You were found unconscious in the snow about 5 miles from Pinehaven," the nurse explained, adjusting something on my IV drip. "Severe hypothermia, some frostbite on your extremities, but you'll recover fully. Do you remember what you were doing in the mountains during a blizzard?" I did. My memory was a blank slate from when. I remembered my apartment in Boston, my job at the tech startup, my parents in Florida, but how I had ended up in what appeared to be a small-town hospital in the mountains was a complete mystery. I was hiking. The lie came automatically, though I had no idea why I felt compelled to deceive. The nurse gave me a skeptical look. "In January? During a record-breaking storm, without proper equipment." Before I could formulate a response, the door opened, and a doctor entered, accompanied by a man in a dark suit. Something about the suited man sent a chill through me that had nothing to do with my recent hypothermia. "Mr. Taylor," the doctor greeted me with a practiced smile. "Good to see you awake. This is Agent Cooper. He has some questions about how you came to be stranded in the mountains." Agent Cooper stepped forward. He was tall, with close-cropped gray hair and eyes so pale they appeared almost colorless. His face might have been handsome if not for its utter lack of emotion, like someone wearing a mask of human features. "Mr. Taylor," his voice was precisely modulated, each syllable given exact emphasis. "You were discovered 20 miles from the nearest road, in an area closed to hikers during winter months. Your vehicle was not found. You carried no identification, no equipment appropriate for winter conditions, yet you survived temperatures that should have killed you within hours." It wasn't a question but clearly demanded an explanation. An explanation I didn't have. "I don't remember," I said truthfully. "The last thing I clearly recall is being in Boston. I don't know how I got here or what I was doing." Agent Cooper's expression didn't change, but something in his pale eyes intensified. Retrograde amnesia is convenient, but implausible in this case. The doctor cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Actually, Agent Cooper, hypothermia and trauma can certainly cause memory loss. Miss Taylor's core temperature was dangerously low when the search party found him." Cooper's gaze never left my face. "Search parties found nothing except Mr. Taylor himself. No tracks leading to his location, no equipment, no evidence of a campsite or shelter, almost as if he had appeared there." A fragment of something not quite memory, more like déjà vu, flickered through my mind at his words. Snow falling upward, reality bending, starfield eyes watching me with ancient love. I blinked hard, and the impression vanished. "I'm sorry," I said, a headache beginning to throb behind my eyes. "I really don't remember anything." Agent Cooper observed me for a long, uncomfortable moment before nodding slightly. "Rest, Mr. Taylor. We'll continue this conversation when you've recovered further." As he turned to leave, something compelled me to ask, Were there others? Did you find anyone else out there? Cooper paused, his back to me. Why do you ask? I don't know, I admitted. It just feels like there should have been someone else. When Cooper turned back, his expression had changed subtly, a tightening around the eyes, a new alertness in his posture. No, Mr. Taylor, just you, alone in the snow, miles from anywhere a human should have been able to survive. After they left, I sank back against the pillows, exhaustion washing over me. Something was wrong, not just the missing memories, but something deeper, a sense of incompleteness, as if vital parts of myself had been excised. Sleep claimed me quickly, and with it came the dream. Snow and stars and endless cold. A woman with midnight hair and eyes full of galaxies, reaching for me across an impossible distance. Her voice calling a name that wasn't Michael Taylor. Remember, she pleaded. Remember what we were. Remember what they took from us. And behind her, pursuing with relentless determination, 3 figures in dark suits, their faces empty of everything except purpose. I woke gasping, the hospital room momentarily unfamiliar. Outside my window, snow fell gently in the glow of street lamps. Normal snow, obeying the laws of gravity. Yet watching it filled me with inexplicable dread. The next 3 days passed in a blur of medical tests, police interviews and visits from Agent Cooper. The official story that emerged, piece by piece, mostly suggested by Cooper himself, and readily accepted by local authorities, was that I had been on a solo winter camping trip, become disoriented in the storm, and wandered off trail. A miracle survival, they called it. I didn't contradict the narrative. How could I, with no memory of what had actually occurred? But the dreams continued each night, growing more vivid, more urgent. Always the woman with star-filled eyes. Always the desperate plea to remember something just beyond my mental reach. On the 4th day, deemed sufficiently recovered, I was released from the hospital. Agent Cooper appeared as I was gathering the few possessions that had been with me when found. A watch, a wallet with Boston identification but no credit cards or cash, clothing suitable for fall but not winter conditions. A car is waiting to take you to the airport, Cooper informed. Your ticket to Boston has been arranged. By whom? I asked, surprised. Your employer, Cooper replied smoothly. They're quite concerned about your well-being. The car will stop at a hotel first so you can shower and change into more appropriate clothing for travel. Something felt wrong about this too convenient arrangement, but I had no better options. My wallet was empty of cash, and I knew no one in this small mountain town. Thank you, I said cautiously. That's very helpful. Cooper's pale eyes studied me with that same unsettling intensity. Miss Taylor, should you experience any unusual thoughts or memories in the coming weeks, I'd like you to call this number. He handed me a plain white business card with only a phone number, no name, no agency. What kind of unusual thoughts? I asked. Dreams of cosmic entities, memories of lives you couldn't possibly have lived. Whispers in the snow. Cooper's voice remained emotionless, but each word struck me like a physical blow. They were exact descriptions of what I'd been experiencing since waking in the hospital. Why would I dream about those things? My mouth had gone dry. You wouldn't, Cooper replied, which is why you should call immediately if you do, for your own well-being. He escorted me to a black sedan with tinted windows waiting outside the hospital. The driver never turned, never spoke, just pulled smoothly away from the curb when we were settled in the back seat. As we drove through the small town of Pinehaven, I studied the quaint storefronts and locals bundled against the cold. Everything seemed normal, yet faintly wrong, as if I were viewing the world through slightly distorted glass. You've never been to Pinehaven before, your incident, correct? Cooper asked, following my gaze. Not that I recall, I answered truthfully. One of the search party members reported that you spoke a name while unconscious. Lilith. Does that name mean anything to you? The word sent an electric shock through my body, though I couldn't understand why. No, I lied. The denial coming automatically. Cooper's expression remained unchanged, simply following all possible leads. Mr. Taylor, the circumstances of your survival remain unusual. The car turned onto a mountain road, leading away from town, snow-covered pines crowding close on either side. Something about the landscape triggered another flash of almost memory. A cabin surrounded by perfect circular tracks. A photograph showing my face in an impossible time. Where exactly was I found? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Near the old Blackridge Mining Company property, Cooper replied. Abandoned since the 1960s. The area is largely uninhabited now,
Black Ridge. The name resonated with that same strange familiarity. I turned to look out the window, hiding my face from Cooper's too perceptive gaze. That's when I saw it. A small wooden sign half buried in snow as we passed. Caldwell Properties, private road. Another jolt of recognition, though I couldn't place why. The car continued upward, the road narrowing and growing more treacherous with accumulated snow. I had assumed we were heading back toward Pinehaven, toward the hotel Cooper had mentioned, but we seemed to be climbing deeper into the mountains. I thought we were going to a hotel, I said, unease growing. A slight detour first, Cooper replied. There's something I'd like you to see. The road eventually opened into a clearing where the remains of a structure stood, charred timbers and blackened stone, half buried in snow, the foundation of what had once been a large cabin. Stop here, Cooper instructed the driver, who silently obeyed. What is this place? I asked, though some part of me already knew. Until 5 days ago, this was a rental property owned by a Mr. James Caldwell, Cooper said as he opened his door. It burned to the ground during the height of the blizzard. The fire department couldn't reach it in time. He stepped out into the snow, clearly expecting me to follow. After a moment's hesitation, I did. The cold bit through my inadequate clothing immediately, but something else struck me as I approached the ruins. A sense of wrongness that had nothing to do with temperature. The very air felt thin here, as if reality itself had been stretched to breaking point. Strangely, Cooper continued, walking carefully through the snow toward the charred foundation. Satellite imaging shows the fires started simultaneously at multiple points throughout the structure, an impossibility according to fire investigators. I stopped at what would have been the front steps, unwilling to venture closer to the ruin. Something about this place filled me with equal parts longing and joy. Even stranger, Cooper said, watching my reaction closely, is that the reservation system shows this cabin was rented to a Daniel Mercer for the entire month of January, yet no one by that name has been reported missing. His emergency contact, a literary agent in New York, has no recollection of a client named Daniel Mercer, despite emails and contracts proving their professional relationship. Daniel Mercer. The name struck me with the force of a physical blow. For an instant the world seemed to flicker around me, the ruins replaced by an intact cabin, snow falling in impossible patterns, a woman with star-filled eyes reaching for me across dimensions. Mr. Taylor? Cooper's voice seemed to come from very far away. Are you remembering? With tremendous effort I forced the vision away, blinking rapidly until only the burned ruins remained. No, I managed. Just dizzy. I'm still recovering. Cooper's pale eyes narrowed slightly. Of course, my apologies for keeping you in the cold. Let's continue to the hotel. As we turned to go, something caught my eye, a glint of metal amid the charred debris. Without conscious thought, I veered toward it, bending to retrieve a small object half buried in ash and snow. It was a straight razor with a pearl handle, its blade still remarkably sharp despite the devastation around it. Found something? Cooper asked, suddenly very close behind me. I should have shown it to him, should have handed it over as potential evidence. Instead, I slipped it into my pocket with a smooth motion that felt practiced, natural. Just some melted glass. I lied. Nothing important. In the car as we descended from the mountains, I kept my hand wrapped around the razor in my pocket. Its weight and shape felt oddly comforting, as if it were one of very few real things in a world of illusions. We reached a small airport by evening. As promised, a ticket to Boston awaited me, along with a change of clothes and a prepaid credit card for incidental expenses, supposedly provided by my employer. Cooper saw me to the security checkpoint. Remember, Mr. Taylor, any unusual thoughts or memories, call the number immediately. I will, I promised, with no intention of doing so. As I waited for my flight, I examined the straight razor more carefully, looking for any markings or inscriptions that might explain its odd familiarity. There was nothing except a small symbol etched into the base of the blade near the handle, a circle with what appeared to be a stylized snowflake inside. The dreams were more intense that night. In an anonymous airport hotel during my layover, I stood in a forest of impossible trees that stretched upward beyond sight, their branches forming complex patterns against a sky filled with unfamiliar constellations. The woman Lilith, I knew her name now, moved among the cosmic flora with liquid gray. You begin to remember, she said, her voice resonating on multiple frequencies simultaneously, faster than ever before. They were careless this time. Who is Daniel Mercer? I asked, the name still echoing in my mind. You were, she replied, one of many vessels across time. But never forget, beneath all names and forms, you are Azrael. Azrael. The name resonated through my being, awakening echoes of memories older than human civilization. What am I? I whispered. Lilith's star-filled eyes softened with ancient light. You are what you have always been, a cosmic entity bound in human form, a being of transitions and endings, what humans later called the Angel of Death, though that simplistic mythology captures only a fragment of your true nature. And you, I am your counterpart, your balance. Where you end, I begin. Where you release, I transform. Together we maintained the cosmic cycle before they separated us. They, the agents, enforcers of cosmic law, she confirmed. They fear what we become together, a force that transcends their ordered universe, that threatens the very structure of reality they maintain. I struggled to comprehend. Why am I Michael Taylor now? What happened to Daniel Mercer? When you chose humanity over cosmic power, they reset you as they always do, gave you a new identity, new memories, but this time was different. This time you understood the flaw in our approach before they took you. The sacrifice. I recalled fragments of a conversation, taking lives to fuel our escape. Yes. Lilith moved closer, her form shifting between human appearance and cosmic reality. For eons, we believed the only way to generate enough energy to break dimensional barriers was through the death of mortal witness. But you realized our error. As entities of balance, our methods must reflect our nature. Death creates imbalance, draws the attention of the enforcers more quickly. What's the alternative? Her smile contained galaxies. Creation, beloved, not destruction. The birth of something new, a merging of cosmic and mortal, that has never existed before. I reached for her, but my hand passed through her form like smoke. You're not really here, are you? Not physically. The dimensional barriers remain. But your partial awakening creates a bridge between our minds. I can reach you in dreams, while you remember. Cooper suspects, I told her. He watches me. Of course, the enforcers always place a guardian near your new identity. They know I'll find you eventually. They hope to interrupt the cycle before your memory fully returns. What do I do now? Return to the life they created for you, she said. Play the role of Michael Taylor, but watch for signs. I've had eons to prepare for this iteration. I've scattered keys to your memory throughout your new existence. Find them, remember, and when the next great storm comes, be ready. How will I know the keys? Trust your instincts. The symbol on the razor is one, a marker I've used across centuries to help you remember. There will be a... The dreamscape began to fade, her form growing transparent. Wait, I called. What created us? What were we before Earth existed? Her answer came as the dream dissolved completely. That, beloved, is what they fear you remembering most of all. I woke with the razor clutched in my hand, its edge drawing a thin line of blood across my palm. The pain felt clarifying, anchoring me to physical reality while my mind grappled with cosmic revelation. In the bathroom mirror, I studied the face of Michael Taylor, a stranger wearing my consciousness. Brown hair instead of Daniel Mercer's black, blue eyes instead of green, subtle differences in bone structure and complexion, a new vessel for an ancient. Yet beneath the unfamiliar features, something looked back at me that transcended physical form, a presence older than stars, temporarily confined in human flesh. Azrael, I whispered to my reflection, testing the name. For an instant, the mirror showed something else, a being of darkness and light intertwined, with wings that spanned dimensions and eyes that contained the birth and death of galaxies. Then it was gone, leaving only Michael Taylor's startled face. I returned to Boston as instructed, slipping into the life that had been constructed for me. The software company welcomed me back with concern over my hiking accident. The apartment on Commonwealth Avenue felt simultaneously foreign and familiar. I knew which key opened the door, knew the security code for the alarm system, yet had no emotional connection to any of the furnishings or photographs that supposedly represented my life. The photograph on the bedside table showed me with two smiling older people, parents I had no memory of meeting, though fabricated memories provided their names, personalities. Another showed me graduating from MIT, an event I had never experienced, though I somehow knew exactly what courses I had taken, what thesis I had written. I went through the motions of Michael Taylor's life with careful precision, attended meetings at work, responded to email, made appearances at social gatherings, with friends who felt like strangers, all while searching for the keys Lilith had promised. They began appearing within days, subtle markers that triggered fragments of memory. A book on my shelf that I had no recollection of purchasing, Cosmic Entities in World Mythology. Inside, passages about angels of death were highlighted in different colors, with margin notes and handwriting similar to Daniel Mercer's, but subtly different, older, more formal in its styling. A strange app on my phone that I didn't remember downloading. When opened, it displayed only a snowflake pattern that slowly rotated, its symmetry subtly wrong in ways that triggered vertigo and memories of dimensional rift. An email from an account named L. Blackridge containing only a string of numbers, that when translated using a simple cipher spelled "Remember the Storm." Most significantly, my supposedly long-established job involved coding predictive algorithms for weather patterns, specifically winter storm systems. The company's current project focused on anomalous storm behavior in mountain regions. I had access to data about approaching weather fronts, including predictions for the next major blizzard to hit the Blackridge Mountains. Cooper continued to monitor me from a distance. I spotted him occasionally outside my apartment building, in a cafe across from my office, on the subway platform during my commute, always watching with those pale, empty eyes, always maintaining his distance. I never called the number on his card, though unusual memories now surfaced daily. Instead, I began writing them down in a journal encrypted with a key only I would understand. The act of recording these fragments seemed to accelerate the process of remembrance, each entry triggering new connections, new revelations. Weeks passed, winter deep. My double life as Michael Taylor and awakening cosmic entities settled into a strange rhythm. During days, I performed the expected functions of the identity I'd been assigned. During nights, I pieced together the puzzle of my true existence through dreams, research, and the keys Lilith continued to scatter in my path. I learned that Mr. Caldwell, the owner of the burned cabin, had died of an apparent heart attack the day after I was found in the snow. That the entire town of Pinehaven had experienced mass communications failures during the blizzard, with no calls or internet connections possible for nearly 48 hours. That local legend spoke of the borrower, who took one person every winter from the Blackridge region. I learned too more about what I had once been, through both recovered memory and research into world mythology around death. Azrael appeared in various traditions as an angel of death, but older texts hinted at a more complex entity, a being of cosmic transition, helping souls move between states of existence, not a harvester of lives, but a shepherd of transformation. This aligned with the revelation in my final conversation with Lilith, that our mistake had been seeking power through death, rather than creation. We were not destroyers by nature but transformers, facilitators of cosmic evolution. As February turned to March, weather reports began tracking a massive storm system forming over the Pacific. Meteorologists predicted it would move eastward, gathering strength, potentially becoming the most significant blizzard to hit the Blackridge Mountains in decades. The algorithms I was paid to develop tracked its path with eerie precision. My colleagues marveled at the accuracy of our predictions, never suspecting that my insights came not from mathematical models, but from awakening cosmic awareness of weather patterns as expressions of dimensional energy.
3 days before the storm was due to reach the mountains, I received a package at my apartment. No return address. No postal marking suggesting how it had arrived. Inside was a set of keys with a tag reading 5046 Old Mine Road, Blackridge, and a hand-drawn map showing a location deep in the mountains, miles from any town. That night, Lilith came to me in dreams more vivid than ever before. "The storm approaches," she said, her form now almost fully manifested. The dreamscape around us vibrant with cosmic energy. The dimensional barriers will thin at its peak. I found most of the keys, I told her. Remembered much of what I was. But not everything, there are still gaps. Some memories can only return when we are together physically, she explained. When our energies reconnect, the cabin on Old Mine Road, a sanctuary I've prepared over decades, shielded from the Enforcer's direct observation, though they'll sense our convergence once it begins. "Cooper watches me constantly," I said. "He'll follow if I leave Boston." Her star-filled eyes flashed with ancient cunning. "He expects you to run toward the storm. It's what we've always done before. This time we must appear to be running away, triggering his pursuit response, drawing him and the others into our carefully laid design." "What exactly are we attempting?" I asked. "Not escape through sacrifice," you said. "Something new. Creation rather than destruction. The merging of cosmic and mortal," she confirmed. "A new state of being that transcends the boundaries they enforced since the dawn of time. Neither fully cosmic nor fully human, but something that can exist in both realms simultaneously. Is that even possible? It's what they've always feared, why they've kept us separated, kept you bound in human form with no memory of your true nature. Together we have the potential to evolve beyond their control. And the storm, a catalyst, nothing more. The true power comes from transformation, Your willingness to embrace both your cosmic nature and the humanity you've grown to value. My willingness to understand what you've learned through countless mortal lives. She moved closer, her essence brushing against mine in the dreamscape. 3 days, beloved. When the storm reaches its peak, be at the sanctuary. I will find you there as I have always found you. But this time, we change the ending. I woke with absolute clarity of purpose. A quick check of weather reports confirmed the storm's approach. 3 days until it reached the Blackridge Mountains. Boston itself would see only rain, the system's cold core reserved for higher elevations. I began preparations carefully, aware of Cooper's surveillance, purchased camping equipment and winter survival gear, but had it delivered to a friend's address rather than my own. Arranged time off work for what I described as a personal retreat to Florida, a false trail leading in the opposite direction from my actual destination. The morning of my departure, I spotted Cooper across the street as I loaded a suitcase into my car. I made a point of wearing summer clothing, visible when I removed my jacket to adjust the luggage. The light shirt and shorts supported my Florida narrative. As I pulled away from the curb, Cooper followed in his black sedan, maintaining a discreet distance. Perfect. The first phase of Lilith's plan was in motion, drawing the enforcer away from Boston, away from whatever cosmic reinforcements he might summon quickly. I drove south for 3 hours, Cooper following, before executing the carefully planned switch. At a busy rest area, I entered wearing my light jacket over summer clothes. In the restroom, I changed completely, winter gear hidden in my suitcase including a different colored I exited through a side door where a pre-arranged rental car waited. My original vehicle would be driven to Florida by the friend who had received my camping equipment deliveries, a normal human completely unaware of the cosmic game being played, who simply thought he was helping a coworker with an elaborate surprise for a girlfriend. By the time Cooper realized the deception, I would have a significant head start toward the mountains, toward the storm, toward Lilith. The journey took me through increasingly remote areas, small towns giving way to wilderness as I approached the Blackridge Range. Snow began falling lightly as I ascended, roads becoming more treacherous with each mile. According to weather reports, this was merely the vanguard of the coming blizzard, a whisper before the scream. Old Mine Road proved almost impossible to find, an unmarked turnoff an already obscure Forest Service road, its entrance nearly hidden by overgrown pines. The hand-drawn map proved essential, guiding me through twists and turns that seemed designed to confuse and discourage visitors. After miles of increasingly primitive road, I rounded a bend and saw it, a small cabin perched on the edge of a cliff, overlooking a dramatic valley. Unlike the rental property that had burned, this structure was older, more primal, built of rough-hewn logs, darkened by age, its windows small and deep-set like watchful eyes. I parked and approached cautiously, snow crunching beneath my boots. The air felt strange here, thinner, as if the membrane between dimensions had already begun to attenuate. Each breath sent sparks of energy through my body, awakening more fragments of cosmic memory. The key slid into the ancient lock with a sense of inevitability. Inside, the cabin was spare but prepared. Firewood stacked neatly beside a stone hearth, non-perishable food items in cupboards, lanterns and candles placed strategically throughout the single large room. A staircase led to what appeared to be a loft sleeping area. Most striking was the circular design painted across the plank floor, intricate patterns of interlocking snowflakes, forming a mandala-like structure, 12 feet in diameter. The design seemed to shift slightly when viewed from different angles, creating an unsettling sense of movement even in perfect stillness. I recognized it immediately as a dimensional anchor point, similar to what Lilith had attempted to create during our last reunion, but more elaborate, more carefully constructed. This had been prepared over years, not hastily assembled during a storm. On a small table near the circle lay a leather-bound book and the twin to my pearl-handled razor. I opened the book to find page after page of meticulous notes in that same ancient handwriting. Instructions for the ritual to come, explanations of cosmic principles beyond human understanding, and a detailed history of our previous attempts at reunion. We had tried so many times. Different approaches, different understandings of the cosmic laws that bound us, different sacrifices, always failing because we had misunderstood our fundamental nature, attempting to use death to break free when our true power had always been in transformation. As darkness fell, the storm intensified, snow now falling heavily, wind gaining the voice-like quality I recognized from Daniel Mercer's final days. I built a fire in the hearth and continued studying Lilith's book, absorbing centuries of accumulated knowledge about dimensional physics and cosmic bindings. According to her calculations, the storm would reach its peak near midnight tomorrow. The dimensional barriers would be thinnest precisely when the meteorological intensity was greatest, a convergence of physical and metaphysical conditions that occurred perhaps once a century. I had until then to prepare myself to balance the human identity I had grown to value with the cosmic awareness that continued to awaken within me, not fully Azrael, not merely Michael Taylor or Daniel Mercer, but something new that incorporated elements of. That night, Lilith did not come to me in dreams. Instead, I experienced something more profound, a direct connection to my original consciousness, unfiltered by human perception. For hours that felt like eternities, I existed simultaneously across multiple planes of reality, witnessing the birth and death of stars, the slow dance of galaxies, the infinite patterns of cosmic evolution. I remembered what I had been at the beginning, one of the first sentient energies to emerge from the primordial void, neither angel nor demon but simply consciousness given form through will. I remembered finding Lilith among the early stars, recognizing in her a complementary energy that completed my own. I remembered too why the cosmic enforcers so feared our union, because together we represented the potential for a new form of existence, one that transcended the rigid categories they had established to maintain order in a chaotic universe.
Most importantly, I remembered the insight that had come to me in Daniel Mercer's final moments, that our repeated failures had stemmed from our methods, not our goal. We had sought to break cosmic law through violation rather than transformation. We had been entities of balance trying to use imbalance as our tool. Morning brought clarity and purpose. I spent the day in meticulous preparation, following Lilith's detailed instructions. The ritual required specific arrangements of the symbols within the floor circle, precise positioning of artifacts she had gathered over centuries, and most critically, a perfect balance of my human and cosmic consciousness. Not suppression of either aspect, but integration, true transformation. By afternoon, the storm had intensified beyond normal meteorological parameters. Snow fell in patterns that occasionally defied gravity, swirling in configurations that human eyes would struggle to comprehend. The wind's voice gained complexity, no longer merely howling, but speaking in tongues that resonated with cosmic frequencies. I felt Cooper's approach hours before his vehicle became visible on the primitive road. The enforcer's presence rippled through dimensional barriers already thinned by the storm. He would not be alone. The other agents would converge as well, sensing the imminent disruption to cosmic order. Perfect. Their presence was part of Lilith's design, not obstacles to be overcome, but elements to be incorporated. For true balance, all forces must be represented. The blizzard reached near whiteout conditions as darkness fell. Through occasional breaks in the swirling snow, I glimpsed headlights laboriously ascending the final approach to the cabin. Cooper and his fellow enforcers fighting through weather that would have deterred or killed ordinary humans. I completed the final preparations as the clock approached midnight. The fire burned in perfect balance, neither too strong nor too weak. The circular pattern on the floor now glowed with subtle luminescence that came not from any physical source, but from the thinning barriers between dimensions. At exactly 11:55 p.m., the cabin door burst open, propelled by both wind and cosmic force. Cooper stood in the threshold, his human disguise flickering around the edges. Behind him, barely visible through the maelstrom, were two more figures, the same trio that had confronted Daniel Mercer before my rebirth. Mr. Taylor Cooper's voice held no emotion despite the situation. This ends now. No, I corrected him, standing calmly at the circle's center. This transforms now. The three enforcers entered, moving with the coordinated precision of entities that had operated as a unit since the early formation of physical reality. They positioned themselves equidistantly around the circle exactly as Lilith had predicted they would. Exactly as the ritual required. You've drawn us here deliberately, Cooper observed, his pale eyes now glowing with otherworldly light. A tactical error. Your previous pattern was to avoid confrontation until the dimensional thinning was complete. I smiled, feeling the perfect balance of Michael Taylor's human emotions and Azrael's cosmic awareness. Not an error, an invitation. The enforcer's expression changed subtly. The first genuine surprise I'd seen on that controlled face. Explain. You've always seen us as disruptors, I said. Entities seeking to break cosmic law. But that was never our true nature. We are transformers, beings of transition and evolution. Our mistake was fighting against the very balance we were created to maintain. The cabin trembled as the storm reached its crescendo. Snow poured through gaps in the roof and walls, yet somehow avoided the ritualistic circle as if the space existed in a different dimension from the rest of the structure. Your nature is irrelevant, said the enforcer to Cooper's left, its human disguise now barely maintaining coherence. Your union violates cosmic segregation principles established at the formation of this reality. Principles that have become rigid and stagnant, I countered. The universe doesn't evolve through stasis, but through transformation. As midnight approached, the storm's howl suddenly quieted, replaced by an expectant silence that pressed against the senses. In that moment of perfect stillness, the dimensional barriers thinned to their minimum, and Lilith stepped through, not with the catastrophic rift of our previous attempts, but with elegant simplicity, as if she were merely walking from one room into another. Her form shifted between human appearance and cosmic reality, star-filled eyes gazing at me with ancient love. Beloved, she said, her voice resonating across multiple frequencies simultaneously. The enforcers moved immediately, raising their hands in unison to begin the binding spell that had separated us so many times before. Energy crackled around their fingers, the raw power of cosmic law made manifest. But Lilith merely smiled. You misunderstand. We are not breaking your laws this time. We are transcending them. She stepped into the circle with me, our energies beginning to intertwine, not in the desperate chaotic fusion of our previous attempts, but in a careful balanced integration, human and cosmic, ending and beginning, release and transformation. Cooper's eyes widened in genuine alarm. This convergence is exactly what the cosmic order needs, I finished for him. Not destruction, not escape. Evolution. Lilith and I raised our hands simultaneously. Our fingers entered the pearl-handled razors, twin artifacts carried across centuries, glinted in the otherworldly light of the circle. We choose both forms, Lilith declared. Both realities. Not cosmic entities fleeing human constraints. Not humans grasping for cosmic power. Something new. In perfect synchronization, we drew the razors across our palms, not as sacrifice, but as affirmation of our willingness to blend human physicality with cosmic energy. Our blood, simultaneously ordinary and impossibly ancient, fell upon the circle's center. The enforcers launched their binding spell, cosmic energy surging toward us in waves of purifying force. But instead of resisting, we welcomed it, incorporating their energy into our transformation, making them unwitting participants in cosmic evolution. The cabin dissolved around us, physical reality giving way to something more fundamental. For a timeless moment, we existed at the intersection of all dimensions, all possibilities, neither fully human nor purely cosmic,
but a perfect integration of both states. I witnessed the universe from its birth to its eventual heat death, saw the intricate patterns of existence that the enforcers had sought to maintain unchanged, and I understood with perfect clarity that true cosmic order was not static but evolving growth through transformation, not preservation through stagnation. When physical reality reasserted itself, we stood in the eye of the storm. Lilith and I, still physically separate beings but now connected across dimensions in ways the enforcers could neither sever nor fully comprehend. Cooper and his companions remained, their forms now fully revealed as the cosmic architects they truly were, beings of pure geometrical precision, constructed of living mathematics and conceptual absolutes. "What have you done?" Cooper's true voice vibrated through reality itself. "Created the next step," Lilith answered simply. "We are no longer merely cosmic entities bound by your laws, nor humans ignorant of greater realities. We are the bridge, the evolution you feared but could not prevent. Integration cannot be permitted," one of the other enforcers declared, though uncertainty now tinged its perfect voice. "You cannot unmake it," I said. "We are no longer trying to escape your reality. We have expanded it. The law has not been broken, it has grown." Snow began falling again, but normally now, obeying physical laws. The storm's supernatural aspects dissipating as dimensional barriers re-stabilized at a new equilibrium. The cabin gradually reformed around us, its structure now a perfect fusion of the original building and Daniel Mercer's burned sanctuary. Two realities merged into one coherent whole. The enforcers conferred silently, geometric patterns shifting between them in some ancient language of pure concept. Finally, Cooper turned back to us. "This outcome was unanticipated," he admitted. "The cosmic architecture has accepted your transformation as a valid evolution rather than a violation. Because that's what we truly are," Lilith said. "Not destroyers but transformers. Not escapees but pioneers. Your new state requires observation," Cooper stated, though the implacable certainty had left his voice. "The implications for cosmic balance remain unknown." "Observe all you wish," I offered. "We have nothing to hide and no desire to destabilize. We seek balance, not dominion." As the storm subsided completely, the enforcers faded from physical manifestation, not departing entirely but retreating to a dimensional adjacent where they could monitor without interfering. Their presence remained perceptible to our enhanced awareness, a subtle pressure at the edges of reality. Lilith and I stood in the newly transformed cabin, physically human yet cosmically awakened, the first of a new state of being that bridged realities which had been separate since the universe's formation. "What now?" I asked, feeling both Michael Taylor's human uncertainty and Azrael's cosmic perspective simultaneously. Lilith's smile contained galaxies yet remained warmly human. "Now, beloved. We live, we experience, we become the bridge that others might someday cross. Will they try to separate us again? They cannot. Not without unraveling the new pattern we've woven into cosmic law. But they will watch and they will learn, as must we." She took my hand, her touch simultaneously human and transcendent. "This is not an ending but a beginning." Outside, the sun broke through dissipating clouds, light glinting off snow that had been transformed by cosmic energies. Still ordinary in appearance, yet subtly changed at the quantum level. A perfect metaphor for what we had become. I remembered all my iterations now, Daniel Mercer, Michael Taylor, and countless others across human history. Each identity had contributed something essential to this transformation. Each human life adding depth and understanding to Azrael's cosmic perspective. "I can feel them all," I said wonderingly. "All the humans I've been, not as separate identities, but as facets of a greater whole, as it should be," Lilith affirmed. "The cosmic enforcers never understood that limiting you to human form wasn't punishment, but evolution. Each life taught you something they have never learned, how to exist in the moment, how to value transient beauty, how to love despite impermanence." Together we stepped onto the cabin's porch, gazing out at a world that appeared unchanged yet would never be the same again. The mountain landscape stretched before us, pristine and renewed by the storm's passage.
Somewhere beyond the horizon, Cooper and his fellow enforcers continued their vigilance, maintaining the cosmic order that was their but that order now included us. Not as anomalies to be corrected, but as evolutionary steps to be incorporated. There will be others, Lilith said softly. Other cosmic entities trapped in human form, seeking reunion without understanding the true path. We'll help them, I decided, guide them toward transformation rather than violation. She leaned against me, cosmic and human perfectly balanced in her touch. The cycle broken at last. Not broken, I corrected gently, transform. The sun climbed higher, casting our shadows across new fallen snow. Shadows that occasionally shifted into forms no human eye was meant to perceive, before settling back into mundane outline. A reminder of what we now were, neither purely human nor merely cosmic, but something wonderfully terrifyingly new. Together we faced the dawning day, the first of countless days in our transformed existence. The beginning of evolution rather than the birth of balance rather than transcendence. The start of something the universe had never seen before.